Yeah.
Okay, so we are here with Miss Patty, and Patty is definitely one of our best customers. She's one that is using a lot of our technology in real time. And Patty, we got on this call. How you doing today, first off?
Good, good. Thank you so much for inviting me, Sean.
We're
Yeah,
going to
I'm
get a
enjoying
chance
the
to talk
products.
about, yeah, we're going to get a chance to talk about what you do, what you're doing up in Maine, and the way you're helping people out. But as I said when we first got together, there's nothing I love more than seeing the Tesla Lakhovsky multi-wave oscillator in the background. My favorite technology, although today I think we're probably talking more about the Terahertz Wands. But to get started, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do, and kind of a little bit about your facility up there?
Oh, sure. I'm in the middle of construction right now. And when COVID hit, it kind of stunted the construction, but I'm planning on opening an herbal patch retreat. 12 years ago, I turned to herbalism to heal from a pretty traumatic event and a 8-hour surgery with two neurosurgeons putting me back together. So it really was herbalism that just miraculously changed my life. And I decided to kind of cash everything in and build a retreat just to let people unplug. I haven't had a TV for probably 12 years. I'm grounded with the internet, and just come on up and learn about basic plants, herbal plants, and how to use them in multiple different ways, and connect people to the earth. And then I got really turned on to it just made sense. It clicked with me, this technology. I'm so many things, especially in allopathic medicine, just does not make sense to me whatsoever. And I can remember being a little girl, and my mom had rheumatoid arthritis and my dad had heart issues. And every time they went to the doctor and came back, it was like a new, oh, I can't eat grapefruits anymore. And I would say, no, you need to eat more grapefruits.
Exactly.
I was always telling them the opposite. And so, yeah, I grew up more having an alternative sense about healing. And so I started with the oscillator. It made sense to me. And um, I had been struggling with, I had Lyme's for 15 years and I never popped positive for the test. So, the doctors these days can't really don't use their critical thinking and say, but you have all these symptoms. I finally went to a doctor and she said, I know the people at the lab, let me have them spin the blood test because it's a PCR test a couple times. And she said it all showed up. And it was devastating for me. I really kind of was living off of savings and a very tiny pension, and trying to put the pieces together as to, I eat so clean, I exercise, what is going on. And I did some extensive genetic testing, which I got a lot of answers from. And then I just dove into really detoxing and cleaning up, and because my body doesn't have the capability of doing certain things. And so I learned a lot that way. And then I got turned on mostly to the oscillator. It made sense to me. And I was so tired. I had such fatigue. I was diagnosed in the 80s with Gulf War illness. And it's just more challenging to manage the symptoms the older I get. And so when I heard about the oscillator and I just knew my cells were not functioning right, I thought this makes sense. I'm going to try this. And I started with that. And, I have my cup of tea in the morning and read. And usually after I sit for 30 minutes, but like after 20 minutes, all of a sudden it's like, whoa, I'm ready to go. Like I'm motivated. I
Yes.
normally it would take me like an hour in the morning to get motivated.
Yes.
It takes me like 15, 20 minutes. And it's like,
Yeah.
so I really like that technology. And then I started working with you, and I got the tower. Um,
Scalar
and
energy tower. Yeah.
yeah,
That
and
thing's
that
so cool, and it lights up the room so nice. Can you pull it out just a little bit more so we can see it? Because it
can you
there,
see it
that's
now?
perfect. Yeah.
Okay. Um, yeah, and I do have like a 15-month-old dog, and I have two cats, and they're kind of always my shadows. But I plugged in the tower. It was like bizarre as to how calm and relaxed all the animals became, and like laid down and slept. Like it was usually there a lot is happening in the cabin, in the
Yeah.
pets, um and it was like, whoa. And usually in the morning, I have a cat on my lap, a cat on the back of the chair, and the dog at my feet because we're all just kind of getting energized.
Yeah.
And when I leave the house, I put on just kind of healing sounds on the computer, or nature sounds, and I turn on the tower, and
Mhm.
they're just completely calm. So I love that. That's kind of fun to use. And then I got the bed sheets, the grounding bed sheets.
Yeah. The grounding sheets. Yeah.
Yeah, and those are intense for me. I had to work up to being because I was just detoxing actually from laying
Yeah.
on it.
Hmm.
And so I had to work up to that, and I have to I have to put two sheets on because it's still
Yeah.
just a little bit too.
Over the top of it to just, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. That's
yeah,
perfect. Yeah. That's a great
yeah.
idea.
So, and then I got turned on to the Terahertz wand, and I actually bought the Terahertz wand from you, and it arrived, and I had it in the box, and I put it on the shelf because I was just having so much fun with all this other stuff, and and it wasn't until they started working, construction workers came, and they're working on the my project, and one of the gentlemen who came, he his back was just wrenched, and I told him, I said, I have this new technology, and let's just try it. And I didn't even like read up on it, or and I just hit his back maybe for 5 minutes, and he got up and he said, wow. He said, he said, yeah, it's helped a little bit. By the time he got to the door, he had a huge smile on his face. He opened up the door and he told his boss, I have no more pain, none. And he worked the rest of the day with no pain. And at the end of the day, I said, how are you? Any pain? He said, no pain. I said, what about tightness? Any tightness? And he said, yeah. I said, come on in for another 4 minutes. But that motivated me to really start reading up on it and really diving into as much knowledge as I could get on it. And since then, I have been doing treatments on people. I'm just asking for volunteers right now,
Yeah. Yeah.
and taking in as much knowledge as far as if it's skeletal, if it's muscular, if it's even organs, a sluggish liver, or
Yeah.
and I am getting incredible results. And I'm noticing too, um, I do have uh, a water distiller. So, and I am charging the water. And just recently, I had two comments on how green my eyes are. And I never really, I don't really do things for vanity usually. I more do things for I just want to feel good. I just want to be my
Sure.
best every day.
Right.
Um, and so I I looked in the mirror and I couldn't believe, because I've always had hazel brown eyes, but my eyes are now like really, really green, and they're getting greener. It's kind of, so definitely the charged water is flushing the cells out.
Mhm.
Um, I'm really pleased with the technology, and just um, I mean, this is what I wanted, was like to people to knock on the door and say, "Oh, I really need to be charged up today." And
Yeah.
I'm starting to get that, and I just absolutely love it. And right now maybe we're bartering things. I haven't really designed the business, or but I'm just tickle pink to be able to help people. And I've been just kind of volunteering my time at certain places where, I mean, I live in Maine, and I always tell people, we're Northern Appalachia up here. It's salt of the earth people working really hard to make ends meet. And I just, to me, this is God's country up here. I love Maine. And you know, times are tough for a lot of people. And so it's just nice to be able to hit that population that I can give them a little bit of relief and get on their day. And I just had a woman come over, and she had horrible scoliosis, and she fell off a horse. So she had a pretty significant back injury, and she's been seeing all these doctors and chiropractors. And I did a full 30 minutes on her and hit all the points. I mean, I'm now charging the water before, I'm charging the water after, I'm sending them home with more charged water. And she, I said, just let me know, and she said, I feel so much better. And she even the next day texted me, she said, Patty, usually my mornings are so sluggish. It's hard for me to get out of bed. I'm always stiff. And she said, I jumped out of bed at 8 in the morning. She said, and that lasted for 3 days. And
Wow.
I've been asking her, don't feel bad. Like, I just want the knowledge, and surrender your injury to me.
Yeah.
Just let's see. And so yeah, I'm having fun with it. It's kind of given me kind of a whole new purpose. I used to work at an alternative healing store, and I just have enough knowledge on supplements and how important magnesium is, and the 5 different kinds of magnesium. And I just
Mm.
have basic knowledge. And um, I used to go into this health food store, and the owner, every time I went in, I just kind of shared my knowledge, and she invited me to work for her. And it was the best job. And I actually set up a truth chair in her store. And I said, because your body knows what you want. You may not have the knowledge, but just sitting down and talking, we can make external changes and internal changes. And I know. And so it was fun. I was kind of getting a reputation. Go see
That's awesome.
Patty. I was kind of getting like, and I had an older gentleman come in, and he was very gruff, and he was like, I'm supposed to see Patty today. And I told my boss, you are not leaving. Like, I'm like, and he's like, he said, let me tell you my symptoms, and what do you think? And I was like, well, that's heart or kidneys, but I would say heart at your age. And he started softening. He was like, okay, what do you, so, and I would just, tell him what I thought I would do. And let's see if we can. So I was reversing a lot of things there. So just to be able to bring people here. And I'm not a party animal. I just want couples or singles who just want to get away and enjoy nature, and kind of share all the organics around here, and even some foraging, and share my plants with them if they want to go home with clippings or seeds or little starters. I will have all that for them. But what I
It's
have done for my life
no,
has
yeah,
changed myself. So I want to share that.
that's beautiful. You know what you're doing too with the plants and herbs works so synergistically with the technologies that you've got. So, it's like the ultimate dream is to have the plants, the herbs, and then the frequencies, through the technologies to really give you such a wide spectrum of things to work with people. But I will say having the psychological breakdown and evaluation, because what you were just talking about with that guy, I could almost see it, like I'm feeling when I'm hearing you say that it's almost like peeling back the layers of an onion. he's
Yes.
coming in very hard and gruff and da da da, and you're softly kind of dismantling that outer shell and getting into the heart of it through just intuition and
Yeah.
obviously being, able to kind of feel into the situation. So, that's just such a great skill set. And then you've got all these wonderful things at your disposal to work with to help out such a
Yeah.
wide variety of different things.
Yeah. And when I moved here, I'm on a peninsula and it's coastal and there is a lot of wealth around this town. And I kind of came in and the Amish built part of my cabin and they were like, you're weird and and then I had a gentleman who had high blood pressure and I said, just take a tablespoon of grated horseradish. I said, mix it up in your oatmeal every morning. I said, it'll be a zing to your oatmeal. It'll be wonderful. And in 6 months, his blood pressure went down 30 points. And I don't I mean, anybody who has high blood pressure, horseradish is amazing. But he also had exercise in his life and his diet was good. He was a good candidate for that to happen. And so now kind of word is starting to get out that like Patty's okay.
Yeah, that's funny.
I just tell people I'm a postmenopausal woman who talks to cats and plants all day long.
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
really harmless.
Perfectly normal. Don't worry about me.
Yeah, and I do, you say sensitive. I've always if I go to an herbal garden walk, I sometimes don't use my filter and I will say, who is she pointing to a plant? Because I just want to lay next to her. And, the master herbalist would say, oh, you're one of them. You can feel it. She's for sleep, Patty. It's like, oh, okay. All right. And I do. I enjoy sitting with the plants because they communicate. The plants communicate with us all the
Yes.
time. We
Yes.
know that when you're taking care of even house plants, they give off pheromones.
Oh, yeah.
Um, so they're always communicating with you. And in using the oscillator, and I have the tower here, I have a philodendron, and I have a green thumb that was always reaching towards this window. Um, Once I started using this, all of a sudden it was like, whoa, like the plant is reaching up into the atmosphere. And the other side that usually is bald is now all filled in. So so it's not just sunlight. There's definitely atmospheric energy that's beneficial that is going on. So, and
That is
I just,
awesome.
yeah, and I just started electroculture in my garden. And that's kind of intense. Everything just, like my sage and my chives in 2 weeks were 4 feet high. And then all of a
Wow.
sudden they bolted. So I'm trying to understand that energy, and a lot of things just bolted on me. But I cut the everything back, and it's starting back up again, growing vigorously. So I wasn't able to harvest. It just happened so fast, and I was
Yeah.
planting, and so. But yeah, I'm loving this technology. I think you know.
You're in the
Um,
perfect place for it too, out in nature. You're talking about the plants talking to you. One of the last videos I did 2 or 3 weeks back was with the woman, Danielia, who is she works with a lot of Native American Indian people,
yeah,
and they communicate like in the Native American or indigenous culture, the biggest trees and the biggest lakes and mountains or rocks are their elders.
yeah,
So Native Americans will literally go to the older trees to consult with them because they're very intuitive and that's part of their culture. For us, it's
yeah,
like, really, you're talking to trees. For them, it's like, of course we are. You don't get that. It's like it's
yeah,
completely flipped, right?
yeah,
And so, one of the things that was amazing is that she's networked around the world with other people that communicate with other trees. So there's people in the Amazon communicating with the trees there, and different parts of the world because they found that there's a lot of people like her and yourself that are very intuitive, that can listen and pick up what they're talking and what they're saying. And the premise of that video was the fact that she had been contacted by the trees in Greece and in Israel, and the olive trees. And the olive trees were basically reaching out saying, we can help connect this I guess this chaos or whatever that's going on in this area, because we are the ones that, we are, our trees and our communication has been split up with all these different things. But she, in June, I haven't talked to her since she went, but she was going and meeting a bunch of people from Israel, Palestine, and all those areas
Wow.
to sit down and communicate with the olive trees. And some of those trees are over 3,000 years old.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So they're really like nature elders, and they're reaching out. And, we're getting this intercommunication on a global scale with all the wonderful life around us, and realizing that it is intelligent, and that these plants are people, and they are able to communicate, and they communicate with each other. So
Yeah.
just getting to the level where we're understanding that, and knowing that when we go in the woods,
Yeah.
all these trees and plants are living entities, and they're
Yeah.
all in harmony and communicating with each other. But we also have that ability. And Dan Winter, I don't know if you know Dan, but he was on the call. He's a physicist, and he's an inventor of many technologies. But he's actually created software, which he made probably 8 or 10 years ago, that can literally measure the life force of a tree, and actually show that when you're sending positive vibrations to the tree, you can actually increase its vibration. And if you're talking harmful things, or that you're going to hurt the tree, you can actually, so they can literally sense and show in real time that the tree can respond to directly what you're feeling and saying to it.
Yes.
And what Dan was saying is that because the root systems are so deeply embedded into the earth, the energy that they pull out of the earth makes them very powerful, getting that
Yeah.
earth energy, which we would call grounding.
Yeah.
So that really, just touching on that subject, is so beautiful that you're also, not only conscious of that, but actively doing that.
Yeah.
And for anybody out there that doesn't get that yet, it's okay, but it is possible. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that we're learning, and I like to attribute it back to Indigenous people, Native Americans, who really are so highly intelligent and so ingrained with
Yeah.
all the things within our earth and our
Yeah.
environment, that they were totally in tune to. And it was kind of even like we were talking about the Amish people earlier.
Yeah.
I grew up in South Bend, Indiana. There was a lot of Amish in Indiana and Ohio. So I used to go, I used to go, like, they had like their farmers markets, and we'd go there. And then moving up into Wisconsin, they were up there as well. And I think as a kid, I'm like, gosh, man, they're not going to get to play video games or whatever. But as we get older and we were talking about it, oh my God, I'm so jealous. I wish we were all disconnected from all the
Yeah.
electronic smog that's so crazy, But
Yeah.
I always had a lot of respect for the Amish, and I think they're just very beautiful, loving people. And I
Yeah.
have so much respect for their culture. And it's all about hard work.
Yeah.
They're not looking for a lot of material pleasures or the soft way out. They
Yeah.
want to get up in the morning, go to work, bring a hammer and nails. They've got real skills that they can bring with them, and the
Yeah.
fact that they reached out to you to help build your cabin is actually also a really great story.
Oh yeah, it was just an amazing, and they like invite me to their ice cutting parties, and it's just so genuine when I walk over there. They're like, Patty's here, and I'm like so happy. And she just had her eighth little baby, and he's just she has all these girls, and she just had a little boy. And I was like,
Wow.
aren't you exciting? And all of her children like, Patty, it's another baby. Like, he's beautiful. He says,
Exactly, exactly.
So, yeah. And, I, after I had that radical surgery, I moved up into the desert, to do some healing. And I guess I ended up around 142 Indian archaeological sites. And I went on a hike, with an older gentleman. He was probably 79 at the time, and his name was Bill. And he was showing us things. And I went up to him and I said, Bill, I said, you can really feel it, right? And he said, not just anybody can feel it, Patty. He said, but you can feel it. he said, "Would you like to go for some hikes with me?" And I was like, "Well, is it safe?"
Yeah.
I said, "I think I can outrun you, so I think I'll be fine." And so we used to go with his dog Crystal, and he would, we would be hiking, and I would say, I can feel it," and he's like, "What are you feeling?" I said, "It's getting intense." I said, "There is a civilization here," and he said, "Okay, now look around," and he showed me how to read the desert floor, and it was the Kumeyaay Indians back in the desert who kind of were a nomad Native
Mhm.
American nation. And so there's like spirit sticks and caves that you wouldn't see that kind of wood. And he showed me pictographs. He brought me to Indian burial sites, and that was very, very intense. And, when one of the Indians would die, they would break all of their belongings. So there's a lot of pottery shards and but there's also their grinding stones. And when they would die, they would break it in half and flip it over. And so, he showed me how to respectfully, you can flip them over and observe them and look at them. And they were really cool because it was a stone, so you could see all the grinding circular motion. And then on the other side was a slick where they did more of the fine cornmeals and things like that. And um, it was just the most amazing healing experience.
Really amazing.
Yeah,
So Dan, being really in depth with the physics of this, when those indigenous people lived in those areas, they literally created magnetic ley lines through there that literally connected them with the earth. And
yeah,
those magnetic ley lines and really atmospheric conditions are plasma energy.
hmm,
And the elders were masters of being able to master manipulating or working with plasma energy, meaning that when they did rain dances, they really were creating, bringing the weather in because storms are plasma energy fields,
yeah,
and they were able to do that. Not only that, but when they were masters of it, and the Aborigines, they could literally steer a tornado and steer the courses of rivers and streams and all different kinds of things.
yeah,
And they would literally be able to sing to the corn to get it to harvest, like to get seeds and things that would, be prepared for the harvest season. So it really goes way deeper than what most people understand. And these people were masters of their environment. I mean, they knew all of this.
yeah,
And, some of it's cultural, but obviously there's a lot of things that they did because they knew how to manipulate and work with energy fields.
yeah, yeah. That was one of the amazing things in the desert was the storms that came in, which um I lived definitely it was a civilization at one time, and there were huge boulders all around us. So it kept the storms at bay, but it was
Yes.
the most beautiful pink and blues and green electrical
Mhm.
lights just going off all the time. And we actually had drumming circles, and my son plays an ocarina. And it was just like amazing out there.
Mhm.
So, but and I really want people to connect to their property because I think that farmers know this. I know that. I know the Amish know that. I know the Indian, what we were just talking about, Native American nations know this, that um I mean, my property is giving everything that I need for nourishment. I have my dandelions growing up, and they come in the spring, and I welcome them. And everybody who thinks that what I'm doing is weeds, there is a certain time of year, there's a certain communication that these plants are saying, and last year I had a bunch of burdock. I mean, that's skin, and that is your liver, and I think I always practice wise wisdom, herbalism, where you offer the plant either a piece of my hair. Sometimes I bring copper pennies. I'll put copper into the earth, and I
Mhm.
communicate with them and ask them to release, what I need for a remedy. So, and then I'm always charging it with my heart, that
Right.
loving what this remedy can do for me and for the people that I will be giving it to. So,
Right.
yeah.
It's it's funny you should mention that because I've got some good friends of mine that are Greek, and my one buddy. is probably my age, mid 50s, and his mom is in their 80s. His mom and dad, and she makes dandelion salad. And
Yes.
dandelions are actually one of the healthiest plants you can eat. I mean, in America, we're like, oh my gosh, dandelions, go get Roundup and just create a toxic mess out in your front yard and kill them,
Yeah.
right? That's our mentality, kill it. And for people like them, and they actually immigrated from Greece, so they're here in the States, but it's been a while. But they grew up with dandelions being a phenomenal salad. And I'm
Yeah.
like, oh my God, I want more. But he's like, well, it's out of season now. It's like it's October, it's September. And so, going into last spring, it's like, hey, the dandelions is your mom going to make some more of that dandelion salad? And it is phenomenal. But
Yeah.
it's so
Yeah.
funny how something as simple as that, which, you're just saying that we would think of it, oh, it's nothing but a horrible weed. And for other cultures, they're thinking this is a really nutritious plant that's giving life to the world.
Yeah.
And, even rabbits. I mean, we've got, over the years, we've had a lot of pets. My brother has a lot. And, there's a lot of animals that also understand that that plant has a lot of, it's very nutrient dense.
Every part of the plant, the root, the flower, the stem, the leaf, can enter a cancer cell and kill it.
Mhm.
It's that strong. And it comes in the spring because usually you eat your heavy foods in the winter and you're just more stagnant in the winter. And so it really just kind of stimulates your gallbladder and your liver and gets everything like spring is coming, stinging nettles is the same thing. And, I love to teach people that and plants to me, they just crack me up because like,
Mhm.
plantain, you will never find plantain out in the field. It only grows where you're walking because she's always offering you. If you have, and this is one of like the first herbs you learn, and it's cute and it's safe, and you teach it to the kids because you can chew it and make a spit wad, and if you get stung, you could put it on it, um, and but it does so much more than that. I actually roll it up and put it in and make some sun water with it. It's amazing for the digestive tract. And this year, I mean, the leaves are huge. And I just heard that the Native American Indians used to call it white man's footprints because wherever they left a trail, the plant was growing along the trail. And
Interesting.
so, yeah, I just
I'm
would
just
love.
wondering Yeah, I'm wondering if that also has to do with the magnetic ley lines and that energy field that you're sending into the earth, that the plant
Right.
is so perceptive that it picks up and uses that energy field to
Yeah.
stimulate growth.
Yeah, yeah. So it's all good and it's so exciting and I'm just very, very blessed, I'm so, so blessed. I've come back from a lot of I think I shared with you in January, I had a massive cardiac event. I do have asthma, which I'm working on reversing and it is doing so much better. And I came down with that RSV virus and just basically couldn't get enough oxygen. So my heart seized up and, was told that it was functioning at 22% and that I needed a heart transplant. And I came home and I was using everything that I could think of and made some radical decisions. And in 2 months, my heart function went from 22 to 68%. So I
Wow.
think that there's a lot that can be done. Um, and yeah, I've had an interesting journey. I'm not a doctor. I am not a
Yeah.
doctor. I make that clear. In when people ask me for like herbal knowledge or anything, I will say what comes to mind is this herb. Look into it.
Hmm.
Because I'm
Hmm.
always trying to teach people be your own doctor. Connect to your body.
Yeah,
It's a process. What do you have in your toolbox when people call me? It's like, well, what do you have in your toolbox? Let's go
exactly.
through it. And so
It,
it's it's training. It's just kind of
it
training
is.
how to
It
assess
is.
things.
And yeah, and especially for everybody, but especially people like yourself that are tuned in, intuition, feeling into it and just kind of going into that space
Mhm.
where, but it's so funny you just bring up the toolbox because I always tell people this. the more technology you've got at your disposal, the more tools you have. And as a person that wants to help and make other people healthier, it's like being a contractor going to build a house. If you've got a drill and you've got a hammer and you've got a screwdriver and you've got, a saw, and well, every single thing is a tool that you've got to help people with their health and wellness.
Yeah.
So, for somebody like yourself, you've got all your herbal remedies, you've got all of your technologies. And when you really go into that space and say, okay, well, let me just kind of think and kind of go into that space of intuition and say, this is what I feel is probably the best way to get started, and we can have you try that. And I'm obviously not a doctor either, so as a disclaimer, we're not here to give medical advice. If
Right.
you have a health condition, go consult a medical professional. Thank you for
Yeah.
watching our video. But that's kind of what I do. And I had something very similar happen because I had a guy that came in. Well, him and his wife came in 2 weeks ago, and his wife was very distraught because he had had the exact same thing happen that you just talked about, the exact
Mm,
same thing. And they told him his heart exactly right was about 18 to 20%. She's obviously very concerned because, I mean, she loves him.
yeah.
They've been together probably their whole lives, but she came like looking through my window on a Sunday afternoon. We're not even open on Sundays. I usually work almost every day. So I was here and I'm like, who are these people? And I went out and met them. They came and hung out for a couple hours. Well, we have another technology right now that I don't know if Dylan talked to you about it, but it's a bioscan. And the
Yeah, I'm
bioscan
excited about
basically,
that.
yeah, you put on a set of headphones, it sends frequency in through your ears into your central nervous system, spiders out, collects data for every single part of your body, then brings you 3D images of every internal organ.
Wow.
And then once you're done doing that, it can run corrective frequencies.
Okay.
So we had him come in, and we did that with him, and obviously we could see that there was some issues here and there. But when we ran the corrective frequencies after the first session, we saw 11% increase in the scores that his heart was getting.
Wow.
And it's a marathon, it's not a sprint. That was a good start, obviously, but
Yeah.
there's a lot of things to be incorporated. We've gotten him on multivitamins and
Yeah.
different things, as far as other things that his body needs. I work
Yeah.
with Angie, who's known online as Food Goddess 50, because she's a former nurse and she had autoimmune and went deep into health and wellness and nutrition to help herself get
Yeah.
her own health back. And then along the way, learned so much. And it's kind of like we were talking about earlier, the technology is phenomenal, but a positive mindset, herbs, nutrition. It's like you don't do one without the other. In fact, if you're going to do anything, first start with the nutrition and
Yeah.
get that straight and your head straight and
Yeah.
positive thinking, and then the technology is it's like a layer of it's an extra layer on the cake. But the main thing is just being able to integrate as many different layers of technology into your lifestyle, or technology and wellness, because ultimately it's going to make a difference. And live cells communicating with live cells, you're eating fresh vegetables, fresh
Yeah.
herbs,
Yeah.
those are living nutrients coming into the body, literally communicating with the cell. Like the cell, we don't even understand all this, but our cells are actually highly intelligent, and they have the ability to communicate, and they
Right.
can communicate with the herbs.
Right.
And
Right.
so,
Yeah,
I
there's a
mean, it's just that
synergy that
there
happens. And
is.
and I
Yeah.
used to say that when I had that radical surgery, they asked me what would you like your first meal to be afterwards? And I said just a large plate of organic vegetables, sautéed. And I could feel that working with the medicine in me. Now, I didn't realize it was just a one meal deal. And then it went back
Yeah.
to regular hospital food. And then it was
Yeah.
like, I got to get out of here. I was supposed to be in the hospital for 7 days and I was in for 4.
Mm.
And I was supposed to be on a morphine pump. I was only on a morphine pump for 1 day. I was only on painkillers for 7 days. Once I vomited, I was like, My body doesn't want that. Go to plan
No,
B. And
no.
so yeah, and just from having such a radical surgery, I had a lot of paralysis and everything is gone. I couldn't feel my hand. And I just tell everybody that drinking a quart of oat straw every other day reconnects nerve endings. And
Mhm.
that's all I did really. I've always eaten healthy and clean, but I just started incorporating tea infusions. And so, yeah, so it's all good. I'm very blessed. I'm very blessed with this technology. I'm excited to be working with the company. I thank you, Sean.
I'm like ecstatic because it's like I get to meet so many people like you that are
Yeah,
like-minded,
yeah,
and I am good with people telling me I'm crazy. I have never disputed that because in the
yeah,
world we live in, I think everybody else is crazy. So if the people that I think are crazy think I'm crazy, then we're probably pretty much on base. But it's in a loving way, right? Because I do love everybody and I don't
yes,
expect that everybody's going to understand this and I don't judge and I don't, but at the same time, I always think that, I'm going to follow my calling, which is just to get the knowledge and the information out and
yeah.
networking with like-minded people like you. Um, what part of Maine are you in?
I am in kind of the mid coast area. I'm in let's see, north of Bath, and
North
south
of
of
Bath,
Rockland.
okay.
So kind of I 10 minutes to the ocean. I ended up with like 1,500 acres of conservancy around me. So
Wow.
they're going to be getting ready to put in hiking trails. And there's two small fishing lakes that are like a quarter mile away. And
Mhm.
then I'm, 10 minutes to downtown, and a really nice village with a lot to do. So
Yeah.
I'm not
So
really.
yeah. So is your place open to the public? Like if I said, hey, if you're up in the main area and you want to come see, Patti, here's her email, or do you just kind of do it more like networking through friends and friends or,
You
kind
know
of
what, Sean? I would love to like do another podcast with you when I am ready and talk more about the
yes,
technology and
we
how,
will.
what I'm
We will.
seeing. And
We will.
because I'm not, and I would be overwhelmed right now because
Yeah.
I'm doing all the shoveling, and I just build raised garden beds, and I'm doing a lot right now to the property. And so I have everything planned out. I'm truly hoping by the end of by fall it'll be ready.
Okay.
The
Well,
construction
we'll
is coming in
definitely,
on.
yeah, we'll
Yeah.
definitely do another one, an
Okay.
update. So
Yeah.
just real quick, it's so well. I got a couple things and then we'll finish up because
Okay.
it's one of those calls that I said I'll go 15 minutes. We're probably on an hour, but you know what? We're on a good roll.
Yeah.
Um, were you using the Terahertz wand? Now you talked about using the Terahertz wand for that gentleman's back. I just had a guy also that was a friend of those people that had the heart issue came in. That guy had a 12-inch incision from the top of his neck down to his shoulder blade. And obviously, because of the rods, when I use the wand, I just use it a couple inches away
Yeah.
because the energy will vibrate in and around, but we don't want to heat up that object.
Right.
That guy's pain level went from a 9 to a 4 in 15 minutes
Yeah.
using the Terahertz wand.
Yeah.
And now, and I've been using it for one of my coworkers with varicose veins, and she has seen a huge thing. And I believe that if I remember right, we had talked about that.
Yeah.
Do you tell me about your
I have,
experiences?
I'm not, I've never really been into the vanity thing, and I'm just kind of pretty natural. And I tell everybody I have the worst case of mommy legs from carrying two children and being on my feet at that time. And it just never bothered me. I just wear pants all the time or long
Well,
dresses and
she does
skirts.
too. She used to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so I just thought, what the heck, I'll try it. And it was actually kind of like sci-fi wild. I mean, I've seen where they've done the chemical, which I would never do that to my body, but and you watch them disappear. It was like watching them disappear. It was, and I've only done it twice, and I mean, it's probably an 80% improvement I mostly really try to support my liver and my lungs. I
Mhm.
do a lot of terahertzing on my lungs, and like my asthma is just so much better, just
Oh,
almost
that's
to
so
the
good.
point. Yeah.
Almost
So
to the point.
well that I forgot to bring my inhaler the other day, and I should have brought it. So
So,
yeah,
just real quick, the terahertz wand, and there's multiple different ones. This is a smaller one. This is a larger one. This one here is probably the most popular one because it's in the middle. They basically throw off infrared. They throw off the terahertz frequency, which gets the cells to vibrate at their maximum potential, so to
yeah,
speak. Cleanses. It helps with detoxification, sending energy into the cells. They penetrate about 8 to 10 inches deep in the body. So I'm really glad that you said that because in addition to getting stuff on the surface, skin, hair growth, these are all things that have been reported. They really are good for penetrating and getting into organs like the lungs. That's very popular. People use them a lot if they have strep or sore throat in the mouth
mhm,
and gums. And I actually we had a gal who was also in the medical industry. When you use them on the palms and the bottoms of your feet, because of all the neural pathways and all the pressure points there, you literally can hit organs by sending the energy into the palms. But
right,
she was using it on her foot, and all of her sinus congestion came out before she even got to that part of it as well. I use it a lot on the pineal and that area
okay,
up there. I've used it a lot on my skin, obviously, because I spend a large chunk of my life in San Diego.
mhm,
Um, but it's really an amazing device. And,
yeah,
we've probably been working with them now for about 2 years. So we have a really large number of people, I mean, around the country as well. We're not the only ones that offer these, but there's thousands and thousands of testimonials of people getting relief from all kinds of things, a lot of pain issues with knees and
yeah,
shoulders and hips and ankles and all that. You were just saying it. I just had another one that just got posted on my YouTube video, and that is literally the guy telling us I went from a 9 to a 4, and
yeah,
that's in 15 minutes. And that's he had a really serious motorcycle accident. So for anybody out there that's curious about these terahertz wands, what they are and all that, the website will probably usually put it right underneath us here. You can go and look and try those out. They're not very expensive and they provide huge value.
yeah.
And a
They're
lot of
worth.
people like
Yeah, they're definitely worth. And like I said, I feel like the households really need to start having some basic
Mhm,
technology like this. And so, yeah, I definitely will be pushing that. Um,
mhm.
it's just
And
it's
you're now
made.
getting set up as a distributor so that you can give them away and say, hey, if you want one, you can get one at a discounted price or whatever. And
Yeah, and I also just like I said, this is Maine, and a lot of people are on hardship. So I just even to do some payment plans,
yep,
and take some money off would be huge. It's huge to them,
it
you-
is.
and to be able to do that for them, yeah, I definitely want to help them. And
Yeah, and loan them out. Just say, hey, take
yes,
this for 2 or 3 weeks and just
hmm
bring it back when you're done, which is
hmm
how I started. I spent maybe 5, 6 grand and I bought like three different sizes and I would just handing them out. Every time I
yeah,
saw somebody that I could see was in pain or discomfort, I said,
yeah,
do me a favor, just take this, use it, for 5, 10 minutes in this area and just give me some feedback. And once you're feeling better, let me know. And if you want it, we can figure that out. But it just once it's good, you don't really need it. But I just wanted the data. I just wanted to
yeah,
collect the feedback because it's kind of like I say, I can give you all this technical information on what it does, not to take it the wrong way. Nobody cares. They just want to know, hey, if I point that thing and I've got problems with this or that, is it going to help me? And, more likely it probably will. I mean, granted, we can't make any guarantees on that because we're not
right,
able, and there's a lot of other
right,
factors that go into if you're drinking the water. The water drinking that I did find, though, you mentioned holding the wand down and pointing the light into the water for a minute. Anybody that was getting mid type results or mediocre results, we found that every single one of them was not doing the water first. And The reason the water is so important is that water has a tendency to cluster. So water molecules cluster, and they usually cluster in groups of 8 to 20 molecules in little clumps. They like to kind of hang out together. When you use the wand on it, not only are you charging the water, but you're breaking up the clusters. You're lining up the water molecules in a linear fashion. And now the water molecule can be absorbed directly into the cell.
Hmm.
And from
Hmm.
the research that I saw from the people that were offering the terahertz water, that charged cell literally detoxifies the cell, and you can kill fungus and other bacteria by simply putting that charged water in there. And they were talking about how athlete's foot and other things were going away from the inside out rather than us trying to put ointments and everything on the outside going in,
Right.
simply from charging the water. And then obviously when you're using a device that's sending energy and you've got charged water molecules, you're getting a better outcome for the time being spent. But
Yeah.
I mean,
And
it's
I've been into structured water probably for 7 years now and did all the experiments in the garden. And I had a device that was like a vortex. And it concerned me because I never knew if it was clean on the inside. I like using the terahertz wand, know that I'm structuring it, plus giving that frequency um, is huge. And I actually have been enjoying the water so much. I give it to my pets.
yes.
I have one cat that's kind of I'm kind of giving. She's much older, kind of palliative care, and I'm changing her water and everything, and even her eyes are clearing up. And she's just I feel like she has a little bit better quality
Hmm.
of life right now. So yeah, I give it to my pets, but I do want to start seeing what it does in the garden. Like I have so much going.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we also have plasma energy water that you just get one little vial, tape it to the side of a container. It'll charge the whole container the rest of your life every time you put water in the container. That has also shown to be really good for humans and for plants. But one other thing is that a lot of people use the wands on the animals, and the older ones especially, and on dogs. And they eventually get a little bit more accustomed to the noise. Like there's
Right.
different settings. So you always go, you don't need much with the pet,
Yeah.
but it is really good for hips, joints, lumps, a lot of lumps for dogs that the lumps starting to go away.
Yeah.
Um, and so all different kinds of things. I mean, I probably sold, I don't know how many per se, but I would say a large number. People calling up, hey, will this work on my dog? Will this work on my cat? And we see pretty much the same feedback on animals as much as we do on humans. So that's also very encouraging.
And you know what, Sean? I forgot to mention, I love the Wave Watch too.
Yes.
And I can't wait. I actually am going to place another order with you, and get a few more in, so when people come, they can, have one. Yeah. I mean, it's been instrumental in that, and I use that more with my animals because it's easier. The one, they're still everybody disperse. I
Yeah.
see no cats or dog.
Yep. No.
But I'm trying to just kind of talk with them and work with
Yeah.
them, and so
Yeah.
that eventually they will be okay with
They'll
it.
get acclimated to it. They'll get
Yeah,
acclimated to it. It's
yeah,
funny you bring up the watch because I mean you've got every technology, you got all my favorite
yeah.
stuff.
I love
But
Linda, what Linda's doing. Yeah, for
Linda's
sure.
amazing, yeah,
Yeah,
and that's such a great story. I broke my watch. I went to the gym. I was hitting up against something, and I smashed it. And I knew better, and I've done it before. And I'm like, oh God, I did it again. So I didn't have a watch for a week, maybe 10 days, right? And I kept telling Dylan, who's our
yeah,
office manager here, operations guy, I'm like, Dylan, grab me another watch, bring it in the office. And they probably even brought it and I just forgot. I'm run all over the place. And I've had a lot of issues with enlarged prostate, which a lot of guys, I'm 58,
yeah,
so um a lot of guys in their 50s and 60s, even 70s and up, are having problems with enlarged prostate. Well, after not having that thing for almost 10 days, the last 2 or 3 nights before I put it back on last night, I was getting up 5 times a night. Like it was driving me crazy because I'm able to get back to bed, but when I wake up, I'm like, oh man, not again. And I'll sit there and I'm
yeah,
like, I got to get up. Like
yeah.
I've got to get up. So I have found that this is one of the things that's really helped me. Now, before we did this call, I was at the gym, and I'm just sharing with me what I do. I mean, I've used a lot for mouth, teeth, gums. I mean, for
Yeah,
everything.
same
But
here.
there is a fat burn
Yeah,
code that's on there. So I like to run fat burn while I'm on the treadmill and lifting weights, and I'm at the gym. And then I have like all these different frequencies, but it comes with a book. It is really an amazing technology. It
yeah,
has helped me so much.
yeah.
Last night, twice, right after just one day of getting back on the watch, I went from 5 or 6 down to 2, and I'll just keep running it again. I'll usually, turn it on about 8 at night, and it'll run all night long, which to me
Right.
is absolutely just
Yeah,
fine.
the battery is
Um,
amazing.
the battery's amazing. I
And
can
it
get about
charges up fast too.
it takes less than, like, for me it's about a half hour to
Yeah,
45 minutes because I
yeah,
use the power charger, and then
yeah.
it's good for at least 12 plus. But it's so funny. This call was like, hey, let's talk about the terahertz wand. And then we get on the call, and I'm like, oh my God, you got the multi-wave oscillators, because I'm actually in our med bay, which I call this our med bay, which is our film production room. And but I have them in between my desk. So when I go back to my desk in the office,
Yeah,
they sit right in between me every single day. So the first thing I see is the multi-wave oscillator, which is one of my favorite technologies. I mean,
yeah.
it's a Tesla technology. It's phenomenal. It's very effective. How long you've had it now for what, 2 months?
Probably a little bit longer than that.
3?
And
Yeah.
it's so funny because I'll turn it on. I do one pour over half a cup of coffee or tea in the morning, and the dogs and the cats take the chair before,
Of
and it's
course.
like, no, get down, and
It's
then we
their
kind of do
house,
our
not
whole
yours.
routine.
Yeah.
But I actually, it's interesting because I kind of crave the technology. I crave my Weight Watch.
Yeah.
It's changing. Just my alignment is
Yeah.
changing
And
up
there's
so much.
there's always something you could be running on it.
Yeah,
Always. Like
yeah,
whether it's detoxing, whether
yeah,
it's pineal, whether it's,
yeah,
like I did that scan, and I don't want to say anything because words are so powerful that if I say the words and emanate those, I'm literally creating the problem to bounce back at me.
yes,
But I will say that the things that came up on the scan that were no bueno, as
yeah,
in not good, boom, they're all on here. So I can
yeah.
go in and just say, drill down. Okay, let me run that one for a while because this is what I got back.
And then
And
test
go
yourself
ahead.
again, right?
Exactly
Yeah,
test myself again. But here's the thing that's really, I think, insightful is that when you run these scans, and I consider myself to be in good shape. I've been in pretty good shape most of my life. I mean, for the most part, I've been pretty good shape. And I consider myself to be quite healthy. At 58, I don't really feel like I have anything that I can use an excuse to not do anything now that I couldn't do 20 or 30 years ago. If
nice.
anything has gone to the wayside, it's my mental discipline, but that is between me and my own brain, and
Yeah,
that's getting dialed back in again. So with mental discipline and staying active and more trips to the gym and more intense workouts and that whole thing, I'm still getting results. I still feel great. But when I ran that scan, there was a lot of stuff underneath the surface that was going on within my body that I was not aware of. And the
yeah,
problem with most people, including myself, is that if you can't see it, you don't know. And if you don't know, then you can't assess it. And if you can't assess it, then you really can't manage or say, wow, this is not really good. And it's like, even with that guy with his heart issue, we could measure an actual increase based on the vibration of the cells, the energy coming back from that area. Like, we can show
yeah,
tangible results.
yeah,
And the problem with Americans, and me being one of them, we want everything instant. We
yeah,
want to say, oh, I tried it for 2 weeks, it doesn't work. And it's like that whole mentality is toxic.
yes,
And nothing that breaks down your body took 2 weeks to break down. Anything that you took that is having an issue was something that was compiled over the course of days, months, weeks, and years.
yeah,
And therefore, days, months, weeks, and years. When I use the technology, I'm doing it as part of my lifestyle. I'm
right.
doing this to maintain good health.
Yeah,
And if I can catch something early and steer it back into normal mode,
yeah,
that's all, that's really what I'm trying to do.
yeah,
And so this, to me, this technology is about a lifestyle change. This is not about oh, this is going on. Let me try that for a week or two or a month. If that's that's not a healthy attitude. It's not very
Mhm.
intelligent.
Mhm.
But when you start getting all these different technologies and you start using them on a daily basis, like you were saying, all of a sudden 20 minutes in the multi-wave oscillator, I'm feeling energized. And I
Yeah.
feel the same way. I'm like, I am jacked and I'm ready to go. And but
Yeah.
what's interesting also is I feel like it helps me with manifestation. Like I really feel like getting that energy level really high and getting that really high vibration in me literally does help me manifest things. Like
Yes.
I'm starting to kind of dial into that a little bit more and go, wow, maybe it's more than just energizing the cells. Maybe it's really like tuning in the little radio antenna and really getting that amplified as well.
Yeah.
So,
Well, there's definitely, even just with the plant, there's something in the atmosphere, a
mhm.
positive in the atmosphere that is. I actually next spring I want to bring the technology out to the greenhouse
Oh,
and
absolutely.
see how it does
Absolutely.
with all my seedling babies. And
Yes, I'm
um,
going to send you some of that plasma energy water.
oh,
And
that's my
basically just
next
tape,
thing I'm so excited about.
yeah, we'll just tape it on the side of a glass container.
Yeah.
And I get the ones that you can get at just the local store. I think they're about 3 gallons. And once it's taped alongside, it takes about 8 to 10 hours. And then
Right.
the water in that container has the same energy as that little plasma energy vial,
Yeah.
and it'll charge the water the rest of your life. And then the
Yeah.
water in that jar has the same properties. And when you start giving that to plants,
Yeah.
in addition to all the other and and then you can terahertz
Yeah.
it, right?
Yes.
So now you've
Right.
got plasma energy water that's structured water that's terahertz charged.
Well, even to make my tinctures and to make some of my products, I'm so excited, and
Yes,
even to charge it on the tower. Um,
yes,
and so, yeah, and the next step was the plasma. I'm just so excited about all that because, like I said, I've always been the little weird kid, and this makes so much sense to me,
yeah.
just so much sense to me.
Yeah, you
Um,
consider it weird. I consider it normal.
yeah,
Everybody else is weird, but that's all good. Like I said, I like to have some fun. You got to laugh. You got to have some
yeah,
fun in the world these days. Everything's crazy enough as it is. I mean, I'm going to go down with a smile on my face.
yeah,
Um, but it's so funny, and we can finish up, and I'll give you one last word. But we get on for a terahertz one. I see the multi-wave oscillator. Then you're talking about the scalar energy tower, which not only is that thing really cool, it actually, like when people come over to my house and see it, they always say, "Wow, that thing's really cool. What is it?" And I'll just say it's kind of an energy. I don't get too deep into it because at that
right,
point, by the end of the day, it's like,
yeah,
but it's throwing off positive energy, and I'll just kind of give them that. But it throws off scalar energy, and every layer on that thing is a different set of golden mean
frequencies,
frequencies,
yeah,
or all the sacred geometry frequencies.
yeah,
So it really does throw a lot of benefit. And then, of course, the wave watch, the terahertz wand,
yeah,
the grounding technology. I
yeah.
mean, when you've got all that incorporated in your lifestyle, it really does help your body, give it the energy that it needs, the cells, to really live a much healthier, happier life.
Right, right. I mean, before I was getting up, feeling lousy, having to take a nap, and actually being in bed by like 6:30 at night. That was like my life for 9 years. And then the doctors were like, it's all in your head. So I'm like, okay, let's fix it. Like I'm one of those people, and that was just a crazy, and finally finding somebody who understood and treats um, just environmental sensitivities and things like that, and listening to me, and that she's been through this whole thing, that you don't feel crazy anymore. You just, I'm very validated. And now I'm up by 3:30.
Wow.
I make my tea, I sit for 20 minutes, and I'm out in the garden at 4 o'clock. And I go until about 8:30, 9 o'clock at night, and then I start winding down. So it's been
That is amazing.
a huge game. I had this dream going here, and I wasn't sure how I was going to do it. Was I going to do it, and incorporating the technology. And like you said, you're right. I can take now my dream and go in so many different directions, and I just am so, so blessed for
Mhm.
that. So, Yeah. Yeah. It's all good. It's good being human.
It is, it is
Yeah.
good. And there's nothing better than living a happy and healthy life. I mean,
Yeah.
um, I have a friend of mine, and I'll finish off with this and I'll give you the last word. His name is Tony, and he's really brilliant guy. He's a naturopath, really brilliant.
Mhm.
But he talks about how laughter and smiling releases dopamine.
Oh, yeah.
And he goes, if I could just get the world to laugh more, I think I could cure every disease on the planet.
Yeah.
So, I know the world is crazy. I try to disengage from a lot of it and
Yeah.
just stay in my zone, if you will, because I want to control what I want to control. And if I
Yeah.
notice that anything that I'm reaching out into is lowering my frequency, it's got to go. It's not serving me, if you
Right.
will.
Right.
And so, when it's one of the things that's always nice is that when you're meeting like-minded people, when I meet anybody, if I can do one good thing in my life, I bring a smile to their face and come up with
Yeah.
something funny. And because as humans, that's the one thing we all have in common is that all of us at some level have a sense of humor. And to be able to share kind words and say something funny once in a while is always kind of a nice way to just make the day happier and send some love out there. So
Yeah.
um,
Yeah. Yeah.
that might be the
Yeah.
best technology.
I have a very good friend who says, be kind, and do something good for somebody else every single day.
Yeah,
It's that simple. It's just
it
that
really is.
simple.
It really
Um,
is.
and I know that I've been on the scene with some elderly people, and they're like, you have done so much for us. And I always say, but I know you would do the same thing for me.
Exactly.
That's how, I just have to send that message, or, I'm caring for you, and now you need to pay it forward and care for someone else. That's
Yeah.
how the world is supposed to go.
And it comes back to you. You give out that love, you get that love back,
Hmm.
and that's
Hmm.
just like the most beautiful exchange of energy that you can have. I mean, ultimately, when we get into all this technology, the ultimate most powerful frequency on the planet is the love frequency 432.
Yeah.
And when you're in that loving energy, your intuition becomes better, your
Yeah.
everything about you, who you are as a person, you're living your best you when you live in a loving atmosphere. And it's not saying it's always going to be like that, but if you can catch it when it isn't and then shift it back and
Right.
stay in that and then be grateful and share, loving, compassionate words. I always go to being grateful. If the sky's falling down, and it can, and it does from time to time, it's like, I am so grateful for this. And I start building my grateful list because I know that despite as crazy as things are, there's still a lot of good out there. There's still a lot of good that I can be grateful for. And I
Yeah.
don't want things to implode and get even worse because I'm dwelling on something that's negative and then just in sending out that frequency, which then of course brings more of that to you. So
Yeah, you have
um
to shift that energy all the time. And I do notice that I work with a lot of people with trauma. And so you're always just shifting that energy. And even like women who have been battered. And I explain to them how the brain works. You obviously nobody wants to be hit. I said, but actually battered women syndrome is the anticipation that it's more
right,
addicting, that anticipation, am I going to get hit or not? Um, and so that's more of an addiction than cocaine, they say. And so I said, when you break away and your first night alone, you're going to be very lonely and very depressed because it's not going to happen anymore. And I said, but you know what? The shift is this is your first step in your healing process. And that's what you want to
right.
hold on to. It's all, and then work them up from there. And
Yeah.
gratitude is so huge. And I know on my journey, like I started my gratitude and it was like so hard, like, and then I wasn't connected to it. I was like, okay, I'm, grateful for my kids, and I'm grateful that I have a pet, and I'm grateful that I have good food. But now it's like I am so connected to it. And,
Yeah. And it's
it,
like anything. Yeah. The more you do it, the more you feel into it.
yeah,
You have to start. And even though it doesn't feel right, like you said, as you keep doing it,
yeah,
you start embedding it. And I it's so true. And it's like that. Sometimes you got to force yourself to say, I'm grateful. And it's like the world's falling apart, but I'm grateful. And it's like, but if you repeat it over and over. So in the military, one of the things that they do is they do what we call a cadence, right? So when you're running, it's like you start singing and you're like, I'm powerful, strong, and I don't quit. And you
Yeah,
just start saying that initially.
yeah,
And eventually the mental part of that takes over from the physical. Like,
yes,
you can just be getting crushed. And
yeah,
when you start doing those cadences and you start, like, one of the ones that I do is I'm powerful, strong, and I don't quit. And I might, and initially I'm going, I'm like getting crushed, but eventually it literally takes over and I will be
yeah.
able to accomplish things on a physical level that initially my brain was going to shut down from and say, I don't think I can do it. Oh, that's too hard. I'm really sore. I don't know if and I just start saying it and I will get through it. And one of the things I do is when I go hiking, I take 20-pound dumbbells with me.
Okay,
And, and usually I'll try to do 2 cycles depending on how I'm doing. But after I get done with that first one, which is 45 minutes, and I'm going into the second one, I'm like, oh, no, I can just quit and go to the car. And there's a part of me that wants to do that so bad. And it's like, I came to do two, I'm doing two.
yeah,
And then that feeling that you get when you've accomplished that because you've pushed through that discomfort and you've mentally beat yourself out of quitting.
yeah,
There's something about that that's really, really fulfilling.
yeah. Each morning I go to the beach and I take my puppy early, and we have this amazing, beautiful white sand beach all to ourselves. And just lately I started jogging. It's like, where is this coming from? That I'm just jogging half of it right now, and I'm like talking to myself, like, don't go overboard. Like, I used to do interval running and I used to do trail running. Really enjoyed that and didn't think that I was gonna get back to that, but it feels good on the beach, on the sand and stuff. So yeah, it's all exciting, all good, and it's
Love
nice
that.
to be able to share it. And even in 4 minutes or 10 minutes, or now I'm doing 30-minute sessions, um, the huge improvements that people
It's
are,
huge.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So it's all
huge.
good. Yeah.
Well, Patty, thank you so much for your time today. It's been a pleasure to speak to you once again. Our 15-minute Terahertz
Yeah.
Wand, feedback thing turned into an hour plus conversation, but I love it because you never know where the call's going to go. And I
Yeah.
don't like to script things out, as you can probably tell.
Yeah.
And it was really phenomenal. So we'll definitely check back in with you again when
Okay.
you're getting ready to open up and start, making yourself available to take calls and take care of more people up in your area.
Yeah, that sounds
And
wonderful.
once we get done here, just stay with me. I'll stop the call and we can chat for a minute before we go. But before we do go, is there any last things that you'd like to say before we call it a show here?
Oh, you know what? Say mostly I'm just really grateful to meeting you and the company, and the service is excellent. I felt like all my questions are being answered. I feel like all your YouTube videos are very helpful. So I'm just kind of thankful. I'm really excited about the plasma
The
water
plasma is
thing.
super cool. Yeah,
Because I actually even make a bug spray. The state bird is chickadee up here in Maine, but I think it's the mosquito.
mosquito.
And
Yeah, and there is a plasma water just for mosquitoes.
yeah, so I was really trying to think of how I'm incorporating what I make herbally to using the plasma water and the terahertz. I'm just, yeah, tickle pink and getting ready to get started. So it's all
I
good.
love it. I
Yeah.
love it. Well, thank you so much for your time today. It's been a great show hanging out with you. And I'm gonna say goodbye to everybody here, but stay with me for just a minute, and then we'll go ahead and finish up.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you.